For more on this, we are joined by Economist Bongani Mahlangu. Thank you so much for your time on the program, Mr. Mahlangu. So the Reserve Bank has decided to keep the interest rates unchanged. Just what does this decision mean for ordinary South Africans with home loans, with vehicle finance and other debt?
Greetings to you, your colleagues in studio and viewers at home. So the simple response is everything remains as was before the statement was made, meaning they'll continue paying the same amount that they were paying before the decision was made, and now the decision has been made. They'll continue paying the same amount after this decision has been made. And also, it still means that as so much as they'll be paying the same amount as far as their credit is concerned, but they might be paying other amounts that would have increased in the economy. And I mention this because the Reserve Bank Governor did mention, but not explicitly, just mentions that there's dysfunction in local government. I think mentioned local government twice and dysfunction twice, and also network sectors as well. But with regards to local government, you remember that this month is the beginning of the financial year for local government, and they would have increased their administered prices. So that would be your levies, your rates, waste, water, electricity, and so forth. So that does have a bearing on consumers. So as so much as they'll be paying the same amount for their credit, at their financial institutions where they would have got the credit for. But in reality, they will be paying higher amounts because local government would have increased their administered prices, and also other prices as well in the economy would have went up. So it doesn't really put them in a better off position, but it could have been worse if it was adjusted upwards.
And clearly the conflict in the Middle East has clearly influenced the Reserve Bank's thinking in a way. Just how vulnerable is South Africa's economy to global events like rising oil prices? And is there anything that policymakers can do to reduce that sort of dependence?
Well, the shocks in the Middle East will always have an impact because of, as you've said, we are vulnerable. We are reliant on those markets, on those geographies in order to supply us with fuel, in terms of diesel, in terms of petrol, in terms of gases, and other fuels that we require in order to get our economy going. And also they refine as well, so it makes it even more difficult because South Africa's refining capacity has been going down. So basically it's to just do the opposite. Refinery contributes a very high or significant cost in the total cost of fuel. So if we were refining here domestically, it would also then it would assist in lowering the fuel costs, at least the price per liter. So we then have to then rebound and go back to increasing our refining capacity. And also when it comes to import diversification as well, I think we would have spoken on length on this very same platform about that as well. And also maybe look into other things such as your electric motors or vehicles and stuff like that in order to reduce then the dependency on fossil fuels, because that is also a bit problematic. So there are things that South Africa can do. You can, as I said, refine your storage, because you never know in South Africa how much do we have in terms of stored oil or stored crude oil, and how many days of it do we have. So because those things are never really communicated by the DMRE, they will always tell us that we should relax, but not giving us the liters of oil or fuel that we have in this country. So there are so many interventions that can be made in order to lessen the blow. Obviously, the blow will not go away completely because that is a strategic geography with regards to the supply of fuel. But we can then put measures in place in order to absorb these shocks as and when they come, because it's not like they are communicated in advance. That's why there are shocks, including what is currently happening now, because we were all on relief, thinking that the US and Iran are reaching an agreement and things will rebound to what was before the conflict started at the end of February. But seemingly things have fled up again. But we should always be prepared as a country.
And interestingly, Governor Kganyago has reiterated the bank's commitment to achieving a 3% inflation target over time. So is that target realistic, Mr. Mahlangu, looking at the current global environment? I mean, the belts are getting tighter, and tighter? And what essentially would it mean for interest rates if the bank pursues it aggressively?
I think one significant reason that the target has not been reached now is due to the volatility in the Middle East. And maybe should that then stabilize, we should then at least try then moving closer to the target, or at least to the deviations that have been put there, which is 1% above what is targeted. So I do believe that should all these other variables then, or the most important variables stabilize, it would assist South Africa to move to its target of 3%. But also with that target being set and the decision taken today, I always stress when I come on this platform that South Africa has a tendency to cut and paste what the US Federal Reserve does. And if you look at what the US Federal Reserve has done, that it didn't adjust, and we did the exact same thing. But going back to the question of the target, let these variables stabilize, and they're not within our power to stabilize them. And then we should be able to move closer to the target. And if you look into even the upside risk that was spoken about, or at least the determinants thereof, it's mainly on the supply side of the economy. So it's mainly on the cost push side of the economy, or inflation. So if we can then get the variables on that side of inflation to stabilize, then in the short run, we should be able to then move closer to the target. I believe is the exact same reason why the projection model shown that the policy rate broadly stable throughout the remainder of the year, because there's the assumption that there could be some stability reached. But then the upside risk exists because there's no real certainty that that will happen.
All right. I must thank you so much for your time and insights on the program. Economist there, Bongani Mahlangu, joining us to unpack that for us. Thanks so much indeed.